Well, let me drop into a couple of issues here that would be very important to countywide voters, and the first one would be Division 2 tax vote that we had last November that failed. Yep. That was a tax that would have extended Division 2025 tax that was passed in 2003. Mm-hmm. It's a county sales tax, 0.6% of 1 cent that would have been extended and would have produced hundreds of millions of dollars in additional sales tax revenue. And part of the beneficiary of that would have been businesses that lease from the Tulsa Airport Authority at Tulsa International Airport, mm-hmm. And there were some other things in there too.
Right.
What did you think of that package?
Well, let me first start by saying I'm for transparency, efficiency, and accountability. I think we've got a good start, but we need to be more transparent. I think the citizens need to know what's going on, and not just site. There's times I think we can push information out to people so that we get everyone's involvement. We need to be more efficient. If we're efficient, we may not have to go to the taxpayers every time we're looking for a penny. And I think we need to be accountable. If we're going to put a bond issue before someone, we need to vet it and make sure that it's quality. So just to begin there, right. I was against Vision. I couldn't get beyond paying 21% in fees and interest on the package. So I would love to pick it to death and tell you all the things wrong with it, but that's where it started and that's where it ended. I couldn't get beyond 21%. You know, that's buying a home on a credit card rather than on a mortgage.
You're listening to Tulsa Beacon Weekend. I'm your host, Charlie Biggs, publisher of the Tulsa Beacon newspaper, Tulsa's family newspaper. And if you want to find out more about the recently approved Tulsa County Republican platform, we have a report on that in the Beacon this week. Pick up a copy at Tulsa Area Quick Trips or call 918-523-4425. 918-523-4425 will sell you a subscription. We're talking with Republican Don Crall, who is going to run for County Commissioner District 3. And Don, tell us how people can contact your campaign.
They can reach me at doncrall.com. That's DONCRALL.com. You can actually text me. You can email me, or there is a phone number there that you can call, leave a message if I don't answer. But doncrall.com.
Back on Vision 2, this vote that failed in November, it was a countywide sales tax vote. Tulsa looks down the turnpike to Oklahoma City lot. I think one of the reasons why their maps 1 and 2 and 3, I think they've had 3, have been so successful is that they have adopted a pay-as-you-go approach. Here in Tulsa, for some reason, the municipalities like Broken Arrow, the school districts, Tulsa, Broken Arrow, Jenks, Union, and the city of Tulsa have taken an approach of the bonding approach. In other words, when Oklahoma was established as a state, the people that formed the state didn't want government to borrow money, and it made it very difficult for government to borrow money. But now we had this bonding, and the county was going to prepare to have hundreds of millions of dollars in projects that they would borrow money for using bonds, financing for bonds, and then those would be slowly repaid over a period of time by the revenue from the sales tax.
Right.
What do you think of that whole idea?
Well, here's you another story.
Okay.
At 26 years old, when I started my business, I had to borrow $1,000 to get started. I needed a few pieces of equipment. I had to go out and find a cosigner to borrow $1,000.
Wow.
So you know where I'm coming from now.
Right.
I mean, I wasn't, didn't have a great deal of money. And I learned how to start my business on very limited income.
Right.
Very conservative, both in business and in life.
Right.
I don't spend unless it's necessary. There were times when I could justify buying a piece of equipment that I had to borrow money on because it was going to generate money. But it was vetted. I could see that it was going to pay for itself and generate more profits. But I never left the pay-as-you-go until necessary. But I did know a banker. I had to know a banker.
Right.
I believe our county is missing the boat because they don't just know the banker. That's all they know is the banker. And there are so many other options that we can put on the table. Do you know what opportunity cost is? An opportunity cost is when you actually figure out what the next best thing is that you could have purchased with that money and realize if I do what I'm doing, I have to give that up. I think we are missing out on so much opportunity cost. If we're going to spend $80 million on bonding, what did we have to give up for that $80 million? If we're also bringing in more tax dollars now than we ever have in history.
Right.
So could we not at least consider a pay-as-you-go?
I sure would, and I tell you, the people, they argue, the devil's advocate on this issue is, well, the interest rates are so low now, the bond costs are so low that we cannot afford to borrow and build now. But that flies in the face of the what they're doing in Oklahoma City.
Well, and I just told you how I would vet what I was going to buy.
Right.
I actually justified it by knowing that it was going to pay for itself. If they could show us that proof, people may understand it more. But when we just hear a broad statement, there's no way that we can just assume that they're correct.
Well, and the idea of corporate welfare is offensive to a lot of people. And as a businessman, if you own some industrial properties, some industrial buildings, and you leased them to somebody, even if you said, I'm going to cut you a great deal on this lease, but wouldn't you factor in that lease payment enough money for the upkeep of that property?
Absolutely. And that leads to the airport authority,
right?
The property out there. If we're responsible, I'm talking about Tulsa City.
Right.
If they're responsible to maintain that building, why are we not maintaining that building? If someone else is responsible for that, why are they not maintaining that building?
Well,
but if we've known for 50 years that roof was going to need to be replaced somewhere in the next 50 years, is that not what our capital improvement is for?
You'd have a sinking fund, wouldn't you?
Right.
Yeah, and you'd say, I'm going to put so much money in every year. When it comes time to replace that roof, I'll pay cash for it.
In business, if we are not generating enough money to replace the equipment once it is not usable anymore, then we consider that a failure. We did not utilize our profits in the right way.
Well, I'll give you another example, too. Now, the BOK Center, the big basketball arena downtown, which was opened, I guess, in 2006 or 7.
I believe you're right.
And it was originally supposed to be about $200 million. It went $30 million over cost. It was paid for. It's owned by the city of Tulsa, but it was paid for by county sales tax.
Correct.
And now Tulsa is thinking about coming back with a big bond issue. And Bank of Oklahoma Center, which everybody, the Tulsa world, all these people saying, well, it's a fantastic investment. It's making all this money. They want up to $10 million from this tax money that the city wants to borrow to fix their sprinkler system and to do some work. And to me, that is an incredible situation.
Yeah, and that goes back to, I think we need to be able to assess and prove things. Are they really bringing in, generating more money? That should be an easy thing to figure.
Right.
So in business, we have to do it all the time.
But you have to, there's creative accounting, and you need to assign actual expenses to
correct
to anything, right?
Yes, any venue I personally feel needs to be able to pay for itself. At least the maintenance on it. I understand the concept that it brings people in and there's more tax dollars, but it still needs to at least generate enough to maintain it.
Yeah, of course. I would say that when Billy Joel or Elton John come in, and there's 20,000 people packed into that arena, that the ticket prices. I think Billy Joel and Elton John are walking out of Tulsa with a pretty